What up, everybody? Welcome back to the next episode of Don't Do That.
Don't do that.
Right here on Epic Fridays. We have Pressure Pack today. Kilos Candy, House of Dank.
Smoke of the app.
Smoke of the App, House of Dank. That is the spot. Make sure you hit them up. They got really good deals.
That is the spot. I do it every episode, so it's like...
It just wouldn't be right if you didn't, though.
Yeah, that is the spot.
It is the spot.
So
Okay.
Today we got some topics for y'all, and we're going to hit you with them hard.
So, all right. So, since we have been on the topic of like police and all that good jazz, I actually have some education for everybody when it comes to what your rights are
Story time.
when you are pulled over by the police. This is for the state of Michigan. What to know in Michigan is, we know, it's best to make sure you don't always match energy. If they're dicks, let them be dicks. Let them be. Let them be. Because remember, you also have your knowledge of the law, even though it may be inconvenienced. Your day may be inconvenienced. Your life will probably be inconvenienced. But know that their lives also will be inconvenienced if you know what you're supposed to do. But the best thing is to always not to argue. At the end of the day, what is the more important thing? Your life. Because at the end of the day, if you have your life, you're able to fight another day. Now, it's important to know that you have constitutional rights, such as the right to remain silent, to ask for an attorney, and to refuse a search without a warrant or probable cause, regardless of your immigration or citizen status. Now, it's also important to educate yourself on your rights to push back against the government. Now, this is from Attorney McLeod. He's been hitting a lot of schools and whatnot, especially after a lot of students have been using their constitutional rights when it comes to Palestine. They get arrested. They've been getting arrested since April. There was that situation that was at the Detroit Metro Airport in April. Federal agents, people were detained. Protesters were detained at the airport. Now, if you are pulled over by the police or federal agents, here's what you do need to know. You have the right to remain silent. That includes the driver and all passengers in a car. And if you're a passenger, you can ask if you're free to leave. McLeod said you don't have to answer any questions from officers, such as where are you going? Where are you coming from? Do you know why are you being pulled over? You are obligated, though, to provide identification, registration, insurance, and other documents required by the law. Again, when it comes to passengers, still look that up. I'm not entirely sure what that comes from. However, for a driver, you are required to hand those documents over. Now, if they ask why you aren't answering any of their questions, he stated you can tell them you are choosing to remain silent, and if they become hostile or aggravated, you can ask police if you are being arrested or detained. Now, the ACLU has guidance on how to reduce the risk of harm to yourself once you're pulled over. Now, you stop the car in a safe place, turn off the car, turn on all the lights inside, open the window partially, and place your hands on the steering wheel. Passengers should be putting their hands on the dashboard. When police ask for your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance, show them. Try and avoid making any sudden movements and keep your hands visible to officers. And you don't have to consent to a police search. Now, many people aren't aware that you can refuse consent if police want to search your car without probable cause or a warrant. In fact, it's best not to. You don't know what you have in your car. You don't always know what you have in your car. Police can't search yourself without consent either, without probable cause. But they can pat you down for weapons. Now, if you are arrested or detained, If the traffic stop leads to an arrest or a police detain you, tell officers that you wish to remain silent and immediately ask for a lawyer. Now, if you are arrested, you have the right to a government-appointed lawyer if you can't afford one. If you are detained, you have a right to consult with a lawyer. If you are arrested, you have the right to make a local phone call, and says that the police are prohibited from listening in on a phone call with a lawyer. But police can and often will listen to calls made to others. You have a right to be free from unreasonable detention during a traffic stop. For example, if you're being cited for a traffic violation, police can't detain you for longer than it takes to give you that citation. If they are holding you for longer, they said you can politely ask officers if you're under arrest and if you're free to leave. If your rights were violated, it's also important to write down important details if you think your rights were violated, such as an officer's badge number. Also recommends that filing a complaint with the police agency you made contact with, getting contact information from witnesses, and document any injuries suffered. You are also allowed to record officers and tell them you are recording them. I felt that it is very necessary for people to understand and know their rights. Again, look up the passenger situation when it comes to getting identification. I don't believe you have to. The only thing that I got off of an officer when it came to getting the identification off of a passenger is the fact that they had documentation of everybody that was involved in the in the encounter in case something had happened for witness statements. That's all I was actually told. I was never really told that it was law that the passenger has to actually give their identification if it's just for a traffic stop. There's your information for the day. Use it wisely.
There you go. Now, we're going to do a little.
Oh, the hat comes off.
It's warm in here. But we're going to do a little
education.
Little education. She wanted to give you education. I guess it's Educational Friday.
We can do that. Fuck it.
Yeah. So, this will give you a little insight into why Black people feel so especially the ones that know history. Because some of these things that I'm going to share with you, I was unaware of.
A lot of people are unaware of. Even people that are white are unaware of.
So let me share these things with you. In 1917, in East St. Louis, over 100 Blacks were murdered. In 1921, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we spoke about this one before. Black Wall Street. 300 Black citizens were killed. Businesses were burned to the ground by white mobs who were assisted by the police. 35 city blocks destroyed. The first beheadings were in Point Coupee, Louisiana. That's how they dealt with slave insurrections. All right. And then in Oscarville, Georgia, 1912. No. Okay, it says Leo Frank killed a white child and blamed a black man. And Leo Frank is the guy who started the Anti-Defamation League, the Jewish Anti-Defamation League.
Oh, was he not also the first person who also started the basically funder of the KKK?
No, that was Judah
Oh.
P. Benjamin. That was Judah P. Benjamin. He started the KKK with the profits from his cotton, from the slaves picking the cotton. He actually started the KKK. Someone Jewish started
Wow.
the Ku Klux Klan, funded the origination of the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, damn.
This one's
after being enslaved themselves and murdered themselves, they just do the same thing to other people.
Educational.
Oh, ouch. Educational.
All right. From 1930 to 1974, like I said, this one's very interesting because me as a comic book fan, this is what was kind of the idea, the basis of what they were trying to say about Isaiah Bradley, the Forgotten Cap. From 1930 to 1974, the Tuskegee syphilis incident. They infected black men with syphilis to see how they die, telling them that it was penicillin.
Wow.
From 1930 to 1974. 44 years. I swear, man. Let me see. All right, so I got this. No, that's not it.
No, that's it.
No. Yeah, that was the extent of the history lesson right there for today. But I have other stuff like, did you know that eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe? You got the kids sing that one, right? How's about
who wrote that?
It wasn't always a tiger that they were catching by the toe. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch it by the toe.
What about the 10 little monkeys jumping on the bed? Oh, how about our thing we all grew up listening to during the summertime, and we're about to listen to it now?
Are you talking about the ice cream song? Because I can't remember. I have the wrong notes, but I can't remember the name of the guy. But he came up with a song called "Nigger Love Watermelon." Ha ha!
And that is
and
the actual
that melody
song
is the ice cream song that we listen to today.
that we all grew up on. He grew up on the ice cream song.
I'm just
never
saying.
knew.
Why do you think? What was his name? The guy that wouldn't stand, the one that knelt for, he kneeled
Colin
for
Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick. Why do you think he knelt? Have y'all ever heard the original Star Spangled Banner? Have y'all heard
full? No.
The full. Have you heard the full? So the full song.
And it regardless of whether or not they only have you singing part of the song,
boy,
it's the fact that it's still part of the song.
Boy.
Nobody was ever free, even under the flag we have now. Change is coming. Change is coming.
It's crazy.
And I the day somebody runs somebody over for protesting will be the day that I hope they rip you out of your car. Find out where you live. Because Miami, y'all about to start something.
It's crazy because, I mean,
woo!
As we are filming this episode, there was a U.S. Senator, Senator Padilla, was forcibly removed from a meeting where he should have been welcomed to ask questions. But when he simply started asking questions, he was removed. He identified himself and said he was a senator and said his last name and everything. And Kristi Noem, the head of the Department of Homeland Security and I talked about her on another episode as being incompetent and being an idiot. She said he did not identify himself. I've watched multiple versions of this footage of this man being brought to the ground and put in handcuffs. A U.S. senator, simply for being in a meeting and asking questions. Yeah, and he identified himself. He clearly said, "I am U.S. Senator Padilla, and I am here to ask a couple of questions because you keep cycling the same 15," and then they took him out the room. I think what he's saying is they keep cycling
The same 15 videos.
of
That's what they're good for. That's what they're good for. That's all they know how to do. Recycle and repeat. Recycle and repeat.
And scare the public so that they vote for idiots with orange skin.
Exactly. All right. Now, the man we are speaking of today is Irvo. I'm probably going to pronounce his last name wrong. Otieno. Otieno. All right. On March 3rd, police were called to a home in Henrico County for a reported breaking and entering, where a woman told police she believed her home was burglarized. People arrested Mr. Otieno at the scene and placed him under an emergency custody order. He was taken to Perham Doctors Hospital for an evaluation. During the evaluation, he allegedly became combative towards the officers before being transported to Henrico County Jail. 3 days later, on March 6, deputies transported Otieno to Central State Hospital after he was found naked and covered in feces in his cell. During the intake process, Otieno became combative during the administrative process, according to Dinwiddie County Commonwealth's attorney and Cabell Baskerville. Deputies and hospital employees restrained Otieno, who became unresponsive and died. Deputies and Otieno arrived just before 4 p.m., and Virginia State Police were called to investigate his death around 7:30 p.m. Cabell Baskerville stated that Otieno was held on the ground in handcuffs and leg irons for 12 minutes. She also said that Otieno's death was not reported for 3.5 hours. And when it was reported, Otieno's body had been moved, his handcuffs removed and washed, and a call had been made to a funeral home instead of the medical examiner's office. On March 14th, 7 Henrico County deputies were charged with second-degree murder. 2 days later, 3 hospital employees were also charged with murder. A preliminary autopsy found Otieno's cause of death to be asphyxiation by smothering. On April 3rd, the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner of Virginia confirmed the death as a homicide and induced by positional and mechanical asphyxia with restraints. On March 20th, the Washington Post obtained and released surveillance videos of Otieno's death. The video shows him being taken into the hospital on March 6th around 4:16 p.m. in handcuffs and leg cuffs and entering the admissions area at 4:19 p.m. Just before 4:28, according to the Washington Post, he appears to make a movement, and deputies and hospital staff restrain him, with 8 people on top of him and others helping to hold him down. At 4:40, they release him. So that is 12 minutes being held down, longer than George Floyd.
Did they do the neck? Did they do the knee on the
he
neck
appears at 4:40. They release him, and according to the Washington Post, they say he appears to not be moving. No shit. At 4:41, he is given an injection, and resuscitation efforts start. At 5:48, a hospital staffer covers his body with a sheet. The Dinwiddie County Grand Jury confirmed probable cause for a prosecution on March 21st. In April, the prosecution filed a joinder motion, which was rejected the following month for at least 2 of the accused hospital workers. In June, the charges against 2 of the hospital workers were dropped as their trial had been kept separate from the others, and the footage did not provide strong evidence against them. The fact that you literally tried to cover up this murder. Literally. Okay. And all those nurses that were involved should have been tried and convicted. Because at the end of the day, you were there, you helped. 12 minutes is way too goddamn long. You as medical staff should have known that. Especially whenever he is in restraints, handcuffed, leg irons, can't move, and he makes a sudden movement and you jump on him immediately. It takes 8 of you for one man.
That's handcuffed,
restrained.
That's how they roll.
Not able to move, not able to defend himself.
Cowardly.
You are cowards. I hope you are castrated in prison. And for you nurses, I hope all sorts of bad luck falls upon you and you can never find another job when it comes to the field you are looking for, because this death is pinned to your name. I hope these people know your names and you don't get a day of sleep. You all broke an oath. Shame on you. And shame on you, nurses. Shame on you. That is all. So you guys, thanks again for coming out and seeing us. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, get notified, and we will see you next time on Mad as Hell Monday, right here on Don't Do That. I hope you enjoy your weekend. I hope it is fun. I hope it is filled with a bunch of, good times, because Lord knows we need them. Thanks again for coming out, and you guys have a great day. Pieces.